Hi everyone, Emily here from Emily Reads, and today I have for you my January 2025 reading wrap up. Holy cow, January is done. It has been a month. It has been a month. So, this month we're going to do my reading wrap up, and then I'm going to do like my mini haul slash unhaul and balancing of the numbers and all the stats for this month. Okay, so in January, I read a total of 6 books. I feel like this number is kind of deceiving because I read 1,000 pages in another book, but I have 240 more pages to go. So technically, I did not read a 7th book, but I feel like I easily read at least 2 to 4 extra books with just that 1,000 pages. But alas, here we are. Total, I read 6 books. Average rating is 4.117. Sorry, I'm looking at my little journal here. And that is a total of 2,335 pages read for this month. All of them were physically owned copies of books. Okay. So I'm going to put my journal aside. So the first book I read was The Road of Bones, and I was so surprised about this book. I did not think I would. I went in going, I'm not so sure about this, because sometimes Book of the Month art can be kind of hit or miss for me. And this is a Viking-inspired fantasy romance, romantasy. I don't know. To me, they're kind of interchangeable. But this follows the story of Scylla, and she and her father one day are accosted by a group of like Queen's guards, I guess, and he is murdered, and she has to flee for her life because they're out for her for some reason we don't know. And she ends up hiding out in this wagon she seeks shelter. Her father tells her, go to the north to this town and ask for this man and you'll be safe. So she seeks shelter in this wagon on her way to the north, and she ends up catching up with a band of mercenaries. And they have their own mission. And what I liked about this was she wasn't like I am going to be this badass assassin. She wasn't like, oh, I have these powers and I'm going to instantly like be fantastic with my powers because I'm the chosen one. So of course I'm going to be fantastic as soon as I discover powers. No, she makes a lot of really stupid things because she's naive and innocent and stupid. So that's why I liked it. I gave this 4 stars, and I'm waiting for. I've already ordered the sequel from Book of the Month. I'm just waiting for that box to be delivered a little bit later. So looking forward to reading the sequel. One of the things that I really liked about this book is kind of a side character named Ray, and I just want to know more about him, and I want more page time for him. And I'm so excited about developments that center around him. Just be warned about this book. There are mentions of domestic violence and scenes of that and drug use / abuse. So just beware of that. But yeah, I was so pleasantly surprised by that. The next book I don't have. I did read it in print, but it was a copy that I have for school, and that is A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park. And it's a middle grade we follow the story of 2 people. One is Naya, who she lives in 2008, I want to say. Either 2005 or 2008 in South Sudan, and then we follow Salva. Salva Dute. Sorry, my neighbors just started screaming obscenities next door. So if you heard that, I apologize, but those are my neighbors for you. At any rate, so we follow Naya, who is in 2008, and she walks pretty much she walks in the morning, goes to the water pond, grabs water, and then she walks back for lunch, and then she walks back to the water pond for water, and then walks back. So she basically spends her days just walking for water for her and her family. She's 11-year-olds. And then Salva, we start his story in 1985, and he is at school when the government, so there was a civil war that happened for 23 years. And again, from the Muslim government in the north that moved to the south, trying to convert people to follow their religion and their governmental regime. And so he's at school when his village and his school is attacked, and he flees for his life and spends much of his life walking from refugee camp to refugee camp. And it was a beautiful story, very heartbreaking. There's a moment where he goes back to care for his father that's just absolutely heartbreaking. But we don't hear much about what happens in Africa, in America. I have my reasons on why I think that is. But I'm so glad that that story was told, and I'm so glad that I'm going to be teaching that to my students, and I'm hoping that that will allow me to enable my students to have a bigger picture of the world. Myself, I need to have a bigger picture of the world and what's going on in it, and they need to also have that bigger picture of the world, what's going on to it. So really enjoyed that book. I would give it 4.5 stars. So the next book I read was The Fake Mate. The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. And this, I enjoyed. Okay, so this is about Mackenzie and, what's his name? Mackenzie and Noah. And so, her grandmother wants her to date someone. He needs to marry someone, I believe. I don't know. Yeah, he needs to be married to someone because they live in a world where they're shifters. So she's an omega, he's an alpha. It means something in the shifter world. And but he's a doctor, and for some reason, oh man, alphas can't be good doctors because they're more aggressive. So he's like, no, we're actually mated, and so it's okay. It's okay. So, and normally I really do like fake dating / fake marriage of convenience kind of stories. Where this faltered for me, I gave this, I think, 3 stars. Where this faltered for me is as soon as she's like, hey, as long as we're okay with it, let's have the benefits of being in a mate relationship. Once that started happening, it just became more about the open door steamy scenes and not as much plot. So that it started off as a really promising story and then just kind of faltered. So, and some of the conflicts, I was like, duh, of course that happened. It wasn't much of a conflict. So it was a disappointment. The next book I read was Crown of Midnight. So this is book 2 in the Throne of Glass series. I am following the emotional arc reading order, which so that means I've read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire is next. So I'll be reading Heir of Fire, and then I'll be reading Assassin's Blade. So, thoughts on this book. I gave it 4 stars. Kale. I love Kale. And here's what I love about him. Does he do some really stupid things? Yes. Does Selena do some really stupid things? Yes. And the stupid things that they have done means that they don't communicate well. And because then they don't communicate well, that's not good for their relationship. Whether that's friendship, romantic, I don't know. I don't want spoilers. I don't want to give out spoilers. But they do have a relationship. Like they have a working relationship, and the failure to communicate affects their relationship. And I love Kale. What's interesting for me is there's some characters when they do bad things. I realize that's kind of spoilery. Arg! So, and I'm not re-recording this, so I really apologize. When some characters do bad things, I end up hating them. But like him, I get where he's coming from, but I also don't know if I approve. So, and that's what I thought was wonderful. I will say this: there is a big reveal at the end of this book, and the problem with Sarah J. Maas and just her books and the fandom is like I had a question about something and I Googled it, but then that gave me a huge spoiler for the reveal at the end of this book, and I was like, no. So it wasn't. I wish. So here's to say this, that the hints are there for the spoiler, and so it was easy for me to see the hints because I was like, I already know this is the spoiler at the end. Urgh. So I don't know how to get around that issue. So I guess other than don't ever Google anything. Don't ever Google a question about any character or any plot thing that you might have forgotten from previous books of Sarah J. Maas, because you'll be spoiled for later things. Oh well. And the fact that I hadn't been spoiled before was really quite good. And I do have, I did buy stickers. Sorry, I'm rambling right now. I bought stickers for Throne of Glass, and I started looking at them. I was like, oh shoot, there might be spoilers in here for stuff like later down in the line in the series. Put them back. Don't look at the Throne of Glass stickers until I've read more in the series. But I'm looking forward to reading Crown of Midnight this month. All right. Then I read, oh my gosh, this was like the best book I read this month. I gave this 5 stars. Is She Really Going Out With Him? By Sophie Cousins. And it was so good. So she's a 38-year-old writer for a magazine, small magazine in Bath. He also works for that magazine, and he's 30. He's kind of like up and coming, has newly started, and they're kind of competition. And their magazine is being bought out by another company. So she kind of feels threatened of like, I'm older. She's basically been told like, your column needs some new life because it's not hitting the demographic that we want. He does. So, you have potential of maybe losing your job. And she is a divorced mother of 2. And so she needs this job. And so they decide to kind of do co-write a column where she kind of dating for the modern world and whatever. So he writes stories on meeting people online, and she's writing stories about the dates that she goes on that her children set her up. And I realized I did not give you the name. So our main female character is Anna, and our main male character, I don't remember his name. It doesn't say on the dust jacket. I'm terrible. Noah. Nope. Noah's the next door neighbor. I don't remember his name. But at any rate, it was so good. And I appreciate the fact that it was an older woman, younger man, and also just older period. Like, usually romances are either young 20s through upper 20s, maybe early 30s. She's like 38, 39, and is very clear of like, I'm done with children. Like, I love my 2 children. I will raise them, but I don't want any more. I'm done. And so I totally appreciate that. I also appreciate how the ending happened as well. And yeah, I don't want to say any more without being spoilery. So yeah, I appreciate how Sophie Cousins handles the endings, and I'm looking forward to reading more by her. Then I read Onyx Storm. I read Onyx Storm. And oh my gosh, I keep going back and forth all over on this rating. Like 1 minute, I'm like, it was 4.5. I so enjoyed the book. It was fun. It just took me for a ride. Then there are times where I'm like, it was a 3.5 because there's lots of plots, problems, and things that I just didn't like. And then I'm like, but it was just so fun to read it, and the experience of reading it, 4.5. So I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know how I rated this. Just whatever the day is will determine what the rating is. So yes, this is book 3 in the Empyrean series. How to talk about this and not be spoiler free. I don't know if that's possible. I didn't like, so I'm going to try my best. And if push comes to shove, if I feel like I'm going to be spoilery, I'll raise my hand and know that, like, fast forward through the scene of the hand. Okay, so the beginning of this, I felt like it was just like lust. And that was kind of annoying. Like now that this is the established relationship, I don't feel like we don't need all these scenes. Okay? Regardless of what kind of scenes there are, we don't need the scenes of less. What I liked about this book, I liked how now our world has expanded. We are beyond Basgaith. We are beyond Erasia. We are even further into this world. So I really enjoyed that. I know some people complain that as the world expanded, that it seemed like they were kind of hopping from place to place and like, oh man, who's going to try to kill us next? But I kind of liked that game, and like, oh man, it's a plot device for like game competition. I kind of liked that. I thought it was interesting. I also really liked that our side characters are getting more page time and we're getting more of who they are. What I did not like, I'm with everyone else where they're like, oh, like towards the end, we get different POVs. And it's not just, oh, here's a chapter from Xaden's point of view, which we've had. I think we might have had in Fourth Wing. We had in Fourth Wing and we had in Iron Flame. This is other people. Like we get Rhiannon's point of view and Imogene's point of view. That was really jarring when it hit. And it hits towards the very end. And it's very jarring. So that was problematic. What else I liked? I did like learning more about Violet and her backstory and her actual origin story. I liked learning more about Andarna and her dragon race. What else I did not like was a plot development that occurred on one of the islands. So now I'm going to be spoilery. So I'm raising my hand. Okay, so here's what I did not like. Okay, so they're on this island and Xaden meets his mother. Cool. Yaros could have done so much with this. She could have, like, the epigraph, we clearly learned that, like, Xaden's father was trash and how he views women compared to his children. Like, basically he was like, yeah, who cares about the wife? It's the kids you have to care about because, you know, like, we got to preserve the line. Okay? So we know Xaden's mom, sorry, I have hair. We know that Xaden's mom leaves his dad, and she could have been like, your dad was trash and I had to leave him for my sake and for sanity, and that could have been so much more developed. She could have said, like, here's why I couldn't go with you. But no, mom is trash too, because she ends up with this other man who is just as trashy and awful as and power hungry as Xaden's father was. So it's clear that Xaden's mother just wants to be with men who are powerful. Now, on this island that they're on, in order to defeat them, you have to show how wise you are. And Violet, so they're at this dinner and they're eating, and dessert comes out, and oh my gosh, don't eat the cake because the cake has been poisoned. And Garrick gets poisoned. Oh my gosh, Garrick is going to die. We need an antidote for this poison. Well, the people aren't going to give them the antidote. Oh, no, wait. No, they will, because Violet knew, of course, that they were going to poison them, right? So what does she do? How can you know that? I don't know. But at any rate, what does she do? She poisons them. And, I poisoned the tea that you drank before dinner. So I already poisoned you. Oh, it should be kicking in now. Now, you better tell us the antidote because you're going to die too. What if they really had, she had no way of knowing that they were going to poison them. And yet she poisoned, Violet had no way to know that these people on this island were going to poison them. And she poisons them first. What if they hadn't poisoned them? So she would have ended up poisoning them and then potentially killing them? Really bad move. It could have gone really bad for them. So, yeah. So they were just, in this book, there were just some plot holes that just didn't make sense. Ooh, and Darna. And Darna leaving was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. Totally understand why she left. It was heartbreaking. But then, her race comes back and fires the ward stone. How did they know to come back right then and there? I don't know. And then Darna's like, hey, I'm back. But then she leaves again. It was just why bring her back? It made no sense. It didn't make sense. And Violet's second signet was really kind of it was kind of annoying. And, another thing, the second signet was supposed to be kind of this rare thing, but now it's if you are, we're the Rebel Oration faction, you now have this relic tattoo, and so now basically anyone with that relic tattoo has 2 signets. Who knows, they might even have more than that. For something that was supposed to be rare, actually is really quite common. It's kind of annoying. And how cool, do we have this magically, we're going to manifest this second signet that we had and we were working on, but you never knew it, and we're going to manifest that in the midst of this battle right at the right time to save us from this battle. That's problematic for me. So yeah, it seems like there's so many things that were problematic, but it was just such a good time. That's why I'm I don't know how to rate this. Ooh, one other thing. Violet's married to Xaden. What? And then Imogen wipe her memory. Why? Why was that necessary? I don't know. So I am I know people are mad about the cliffhanger. I'm not mad about it. We already knew there was going to be a cliffhanger. There was a cliffhanger at the end of Fourth Wing. There was a cliffhanger at Iron Flame. We knew there was going to be a cliffhanger here. Come on, people. Let's be honest. We knew there was going to be a cliffhanger. So, all right. I'm done talking spoilers. Thank you for indulging me. I just needed to get that off my chest because here's the thing. I have a coworker who's reading it this week, and I haven't been able to talk to her about it. What else made this such a fun experience for me too is I kind of buddy read this with some people in Sarah Reed's Discord, and so that was really fun to engage with people about that reading. Okay, and then I didn't finish this, but look, you can see I've made good progress because you can see where the tabs stop. So I am on page 1010. Of 1242 in Rhythm of War. And now the Get a Clue readathon has started. So my progress is going to be slower because of that. But am I enjoying this? I am enjoying this. Not as much as I did Words of Radiance was the best. Way of Kings was second best. Oathbringer third. That's for sure is fourth. In this book, there are times where I'm yeah, I definitely can see where this could be cut. And the other books, I didn't really have that feeling, whereas in this book, I'm beginning to be this could have been cut. This could have been cut. So, but I am still enjoying it. I got to a plot, I'm just now entering into the Sanderlanche, so Hopefully I'll finish that in February, but that progress is going to slow down more as I'm trying to keep up with book prompts because I'm a senior detective in the Get a Clue Readathon. All right, so then let's start with balancing book numbers. So at the start of January, my total owned number of books was 735. My total read books was 261, and my unread books was 474. So that meant that 64.49%, a shockingly high number, for 64.49% of those books were unread. So here's the thing. If I've read a book and I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to read that again, I unhaul it. So I think for some reason that helps stack those numbers because I unhaul quickly. But two, I've bought a lot of books last year. So I'm trying to really watch how much I buy and go, even if I don't read it right away, if that's not an amount that I think I can read in the month, then try to stick that and/or / unhaul. So here, let's go through what I have. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Water spilled. Nope. I didn't catch it quick enough. Okay. So, books that I hauled. So I hauled Is She Really Going Out With Him by Sophie Cousins from my Book of the Month order. This is a keeper for now, for sure. I super enjoyed that. Would love to read that again, possibly loan it out. I hauled A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young. I need to read The Making of June Farrow, but I really liked Spells for Forgetting. This book is about twin brothers, not twin brothers. I don't know. So it says James, she shared an almost supernatural connection with her twin brother Johnny that went beyond intuition. She can feel what he's feeling. So when Johnny is killed in a tragic accident, James knows before her phone even rings that her brother is gone and she's alone, truly alone. And then James arrives to a secluded town in Six River, California to settle her brother's affairs. She's forced to revisit the ominous events of their shared past and finally face Micah, the only other person who knows their secrets and the only man she has ever loved. So it sounds really like a beautiful, intriguing book. I also got from Book of the Month Babylonia. This was their main pick for the month by Costanza Costi. And this says, a common woman, the governor she married, the king who loved them both. Welcome to the empire of gods and men, and the one queen destined to rule them all. So I think it's supposed to be, it weaves myth and ancient history together to give Samarius, the only female ruler of the Assyrian Empire, a voice charting her captivating ascent to a throne no one promised her. So we'll see how that is. And then I had some credits from Pango Books, and I've been wanting this book for a while and wanting to read it. And that is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. And this is about Winifred Wynne McNulty. And she has a limb difference, and then she hooks up at a costume party with incredibly charming Beau, changes everything. She ends up pregnant, and she decides to keep the baby. While Beau is surprisingly elated to step up to the plate, Wynne is unsure whether she can handle this new challenge. And so they both have a disability. So I'm intrigued to read that book. And then, I don't know, like on a whim one day after work, I was like, I've got time to kill. I think probably I had time to kill before. Yes, I know what it is. It was a Friday, and I was working a basketball game. And so I had time before leaving work and then coming back to work the basketball game. So I ended up at Barnes & Noble, and I decided to break down and buy The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I've been eyeing this and been toying with reading this for a while, and I just decided to buy it. This is the first book in the Crowns of Naxia novels. It is vampires and fae, I think. I don't know. Fantasy romance with vampires. I've heard good things, so I said, I'm in my romantasy era. Might as well get it. Okay, and then books that I'm unhauling. Okay. Books that I am unhauling this month. I am going to be unhauling The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson. I'm going to be putting this in my Pinko shop. I'm just not going to reread it. It was like, I wanted to like it more. I enjoyed it. The first half and then the second half kind of derailed. It fit. I read it for some prompts. It fit. I can move on. I'm unhauling Rabbit Proof Fence by Doris Pilkington. Nothing bad about this. This was just, I had originally bought this for a book discussion. I ended up not reading it that month because of other things, so I didn't read it for the book discussion. And then at the beginning of the month, I did draw from my jar. I don't have it on film, but I did draw from my jar of like a read it, I decided to start a read it, unhaul it challenge just to make myself a little bit more accountable for the books that I'm buying and reading. And this was in that jar. I didn't read it, so therefore I'm unhauling it. It's a historical account of actually her mother and two sisters, or her aunt and two sisters. Her mother and two sisters, so her mother and her aunts. They were Indigenous people in Australia who were kidnapped and taken to a white school to be indoctrinated there, and they escaped and followed this fence built to keep out the rabbits from the white people's homes, and they followed that fence back to their native lands and their tribe and their family. And I did see the movie years and years ago, so, but let's go. And then I kind of feel bad about unhauling those books, not having read them, but I got them cheaply. These will also go in my Pinko shop. And just hearing more things about what occurs in these novels and the author, I was like, okay, like I at first I was intrigued, then I heard some more, and I was like, okay, maybe I should unhaul them. And let's be honest, if I were going to read them, it wouldn't be anytime soon. So we can unhaul, and that would be Nevernight by J. Kristoff and Codsgrave by J. Kristoff. So those are going to go in my Pinko shop. So I'm unhauling 4 books this month. So with what I have read and what I'm unhauling and what I've hauled, so I'm starting out finishing January, starting off in February with 737 owned books. So that is up plus 2 from the beginning of January. Total read books, though, is 265. So that number increased by 4. And then my number of unread books is 472. So that number went down by 2. Yay, that's what I want. And so my percentage of unread books, it went from 64.49% to 64.04%. So it did go down some. Gosh. So, I did buy 5 books already for February. So I bought 1 book on Pango Books. I had Pango dollars, and I was watching a wrap up on Beautifully Bookish Bethany's channel that I was like, ooh, I want that book. So I bought it, and then I bought a book for a book club, 2 sequels that I was really looking forward to, and then their main book. So that means that I have to read at least 5 books this month. Fingers crossed. So I'm done rambling. Let me know, have you read any of the books that I've read? What were your thoughts? Uh, Onyx Storm lovers, Onyx Storm haters, I welcome your comments. Try to keep them spoiler free for people. Um, and happy reading, everyone. Let me know that you were here. One, like, subscribe, hit the notification button, but then let me know that you're here by leaving a white heart emoji. I am participating in the Get a Clue readathon, and I'm on Team White, so leave some white heart emojis. Leaving those comments helps with the algorithm and helps my channel grow. So, and I appreciate you doing that for me. Thank you so much. Happy reading. Bye.